Welcome back to another episode of Boodock Nation. This week, it's the second half of our action-packed tour through Grand County, Colorado. Last week on Boodock Nation, we arrived in Colorado and got to check out the legendary Rabbit Ears Pass for the first time. We got together with some of our first riding buddies from back in Wisconsin and put on a ride that's been 10 years in the making. After that, it's time to head further east to Granby. We were blown away by Granby's natural beauty, the epic riding terrain, and the devastation that was caused by the East Troublesome Fire back in 2020. The fire burned over 125,000 acres of land, but despite the tragedy, it's opened up tons of great riding areas for us to enjoy. During our time in Granby, we stayed at the historic Arapahoe Valley Ranch. This place is unbelievable, and it exists in its own little winter wonderland tucked back in the mountains on the other side of Lake Granby. It's the perfect spot for a big group of snowmobilers that wants to get away, and this place offers nothing but the best views, incredible hospitality, and even a wood-fired hot tub to enjoy after a long day of riding. The main lodge here is the coolest story of all. It was built over 100 years ago, and they actually moved this entire building up out of the bottom of Lake Granby before they flooded the area to make the lake. The people here took such good care of us, and we will be back on another trip someday. For now, we've got one more day to enjoy it here, and then it's on to our next stop of the Colorado tour. This has really turned into an awesome day of snowmobiling up here, checking out an area outside of Granby. Man, found some jumps. I think we sessioned this jump behind me like 75 to 100 times. Up until a pretty good crash. That was a wicked one, Tucker.
Yeah, best of the year so far.
Glad you're all right.
Yeah. After another great day of riding in the books, we headed to a local Granby favorite, the Fitch Ranch Cafe, where we met up with Sam Grell, who explained how they do things a little bit differently.
So we raise and source black Angus beef from local ranchers. That gives us the best ingredients. They kind of think the same way we do when it comes to raising Angus beef. And so that's what we utilize at our processing plant and here for all of our local ingredients.
There's nothing better than knowing where your food comes from and supporting local farmers and businesses. This is the perfect meal to wrap up our time in Granby before we head on to the next stop on our tour. After spending our last night at Arapahoe Valley Ranch, it was time to load up the gear and hit the road. It was sad to leave such a beautiful place, but it's on to the next adventure. From there is a short drive along Lake Granby, and we arrived in Grand Lake. This town is meant for snowmobilers. We dropped our stuff at the Gateway Inn, and it was time to head out and explore. Our first stop of the day is Wolfie's. This is a family-owned restaurant right outside of Grand Lake that sits right on the edge of Rocky Mountain National Park.
And right on the snowmobile trail too, which is super convenient to be able to stop in here and grab some food before heading up the mountain. Family-owned business from Wisconsin, which is super cool to see some Wisconsinites out here in the West as well. We got a group of riders meeting up with us here today. It's a great spot to be able to do that. We're gonna get some food with them inside and then head out for another great day on the snow here in Colorado.
The Wolfie's crew went above and beyond and really spoiled us with a great meal before heading out for a day of riding. And they even surprised us with a few ready-to-go muff pot meals for the group. Nothing beats some good old Wisconsin hospitality out here in Colorado.
We just rolled up the trail through Rocky Mountain National Park from Wolfie's up here to On the Trail Rentals in Grand Lake. This place is completely dialed. This is where we're going to be riding out of for the day and accessing all of the trail systems that they have here.
There's a vast trail system here in Grand Lake, and it runs right through town, through the national park, but then up into the hills and into some awesome riding. There's well-marked trail systems that'll take you right up into the goods here, which is great if it's your first time in town and you want to check out this area. Nick's business was affected by the fire a few years ago, and this entire place burnt down. He lost all his snowmobiles, but they've rebuilt a beautiful shop, and with the help of some snowmobile community friends and partners, he's got this place full of gear, full of sleds, and ready to rock with skidoos, Polarises, trail sleds, mountain sleds, whatever you need. It's all ready to go here. So we're going to be meeting up with some friends out in the parking lot, rolling out with some of the guides from here, and we're going to go see what Grand Lake snowmobiling is all about.
Tucker, how's the leg feeling?
It's all right. Gonna go for a little ride and see if we can loosen it up, you know? I don't think I've gotten pummeled like that multiple times by my own snowmobile before. I had some bad crashes, but not the ones where the snowmobile really gets you.
While enjoying everything this place has to offer, we heard countless stories of the tragedy that this community experienced during the East Troublesome Fire. It's a sensitive subject. Everybody was affected differently, and some people lost everything. We sat down with Tucker at lunch to hear his side of the story and to learn more about the impact that this disaster had on the local community.
Tucker Merz, been great riding with you these last couple of days. Thanks so much for coming along with us.
You betcha. Appreciate the invite.
Yeah, man. You guys got a pretty cool backyard here, I gotta say. But it's sure changed a lot in the last few years. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience in the fire and what it was like?
Yeah. The East Troublesome Fire, it was back in October of 2020. Everybody's kind of got a different date for when it actually started. About a week into the actual fire, my house burnt down, which I believe would have been the 20th of October. Yeah, it started out kind of as a small thing. I do tree removal, and I was working over in Grand Lake and getting fuel and saw just a single plume of smoke. And just from being around here, you can kind of tell how far things are away. And it looked like it was near where my house is, up 125, or the Troublesome Basin, which is where it got its name. Fast forward a little bit, Friday they started doing pre-evacuations on my road, and didn't think anything of it. Like, this isn't gonna get my house, no possible way. I grew up in Nebraska, where you stand in your driveway and watch tornadoes go by and just check on the neighbors, and you don't ever think anything of it. So a little fire in the backyard it's gonna go that way, and it didn't. Wow. I ended up going to staying at a buddy's in Winter Park, and I was working in Winter Park, and I was working in a lift doing a tree there on Wednesday. The next week, a full week later, wind was going crazy, and the fire started really picking up, and decided to call it off of work and started driving towards Granby. It was just as it was getting dark, and just come over the top of Red Dirt Hill, and just you see the town of Granby and just black smoke everywhere. And the darker it got, the more orange you could see. And I went to Grand Lake to go get what stuff I had moved out of my house just to sleep in and whatnot, and see if I could help anybody. And the first 3 calls of people I called, they just, no, my place is already gone. We got what we could, and the winds near my house hit 106 miles an hour is what I believe it got up to. And the fire was only like 30,000 acres, and it went to 125,000 overnight, and ended up taking out about 194,000 acres altogether.
Yeah, I can't imagine what this country looked like before that burn. You obviously being from here, you probably knew what all of this was like the back of your hand before everything was burnt and looks like this now. So what was the sledding like back then?
We've always had great snowmobiling around here. Grand Lake used to claim themselves as the snowmobile capital of the world, and that's what brought my family here. It's pretty cool. If you want to take some benefits out of a sad deal, is the riding has gotten a little bit better. It doesn't hold the snow as good as it did, but you get a good snow, you can jump off on 125 and you look at the back of Gravel Mountain, and if you know what it looks like, you're never going to get lost as long as you can see it. You just point your skis that way, and for the advanced riders, it's a really cool way to get out and try something new. And if you don't like trails, you spend 2-3 miles on the trail and then jump off and go have a day. And once you're worn out, jump on the trail and ride home.
Well, that's one thing that we've noticed around here, is that especially when you get over towards Grand Lake, there's a great trail system for people to check out, and it can take them right up into the goods. So it's been cool to be able to run along some nice fresh groomed trails and then hop off where we want and get into the good stuff. Obviously lots of buildings lost in the fire, completely devastating event. What's the rebuild like? Are people rebuilding? Is the community coming back?
As a community, yes, it's been a lot of people getting together and working, but I run my business out of my house and my shop at home, and I didn't have an option, and basically said I don't care if insurance gives me my money or not. I'll figure it out when I get there. And so I was one of the first people in the county to break ground. I was fortunate enough to have a friend that owns a general contractor here. Landon came over and helped me do Tyvek and install windows, and it's actually crazy what the snowmobile community is. But I was still able to save a lot of money with just the people in the snowmobile community, what they're willing to do for you. Very hard to learn how to be able to accept help, and that was kind of the big thing that got us all through
I suppose, man, it had to have been difficult. Just a whole community experiencing the same thing at one time. Well, I appreciate you sharing the story, man. Like, can't imagine what it was like in those moments and going through that and seeing everything you worked for just vanish, you know, in a sense. But stoked that you're rebuilding, stoked that, you know, you've got roots in this place now and that we're able to go out here and shred this awesome country.
Yeah, well, when you get to rebuild your house, you get to put a nice little closet in it that's built only for snowmobile gear, and put a third bay on your garage just so you can work on snowmobiles and have workbenches, and you build things the way that you actually want it. You don't just, you've got a blank slate to take over with, which is pretty cool. Mother Nature made that choice for me, and that's kind of the bright light that I've pulled out of pulling the good out of the bad, as well as that.
That's a great spin on it, for sure.
Yep, every dark cloud does have a silver lining, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Tucker, and let's get back to shredding. Hey, boys? Let's do it.
Let's go.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it is.
Cheers.
After an epic day exploring Gravel Mountain with an awesome crew, we headed into town to grab some food. And the cool thing about Grand Lake is they groomed the snowmobile trail all the way through town to accommodate snowmobilers in the winter. We had some great food, met some more locals, and then we were introduced to Cam, who's one of the most active snowmobile trail groomers in the area. Cam told us all about the equipment that they use to groom the trail, and there were even some young shredders there that got to go for a ride. It was a great way to end an awesome day and an awesome trip to Grand Lake, Colorado. Colorado is a notorious state for backcountry snowmobiling, with its steep trees, rugged rocky terrain, and endless dry powder. We're grateful for the time that we've had here, the people that we've met along the way, and Grand County has treated us so well. We can't wait for more adventures in Colorado in seasons to come. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on next week's episode.